first thing I will do, put the string through here. Alright. The next thing is I have to connect this rod to the, what do they call it? It goes to the ignition. It's part of the ignition assembly. When you turn it on, this goes out, and then it goes, this rod here will connect to the ignition switch way down on the bottom of the steering column. So I'll stick that in there. That's just simple. Just presses in. Alright, then we have to get the 3 holes to line up. Alright, so I just dropped the steering column a little bit, see if it makes any difference, and then I can wiggle it right in. There, that's in there. Now, I'm going to put my bracket back. Put one bolt on there just to temporarily hold it. Okay. Now there's 3 screws. This is what happens when you take it apart. Don't work on it for 4 weeks. Right, there's 1. There's 2. Okay, so let's see how that feels. Okay, this shouldn't move because I have to put the lever in, and so if I don't have that, it doesn't work anymore. Don't want it to work. Okay, we both got our string. If I remember correctly, there's a washer and the spring. Let's install the directional. So let me just okay. So we'll start feeding it down here. Give it a little tug on the string. Oh. I have to remove the bracket again. And we can this down. Okay, so see, it made it past all that stuff. Just saying that we have to take the bracket off because there's no room between the column and for the cable to go. So it goes to the bottom over here. So I'll just use one bolt again, or one nut. Here, I'll just use one nut, two. There, hold that up in position. Alright, push that right in there. At this time, let me put in the key lock. There, just slides right in. That's the accessories. Alright, here's lock. Well, we'll see. Here's one that's accessible. Now be careful, don't drop them down in a column because you're going to have to go get them. There's the second one. Then we just have to move it a little bit to get access to the third one. Okay, that's in position. Looks like it's going to be... Here's, this is on the floor. We'll just put this in. Oh, got one more. That's for the directional. I mean, four-way flashers. Let me take this off for a second. The next step is to put the directional on here. Directional lever. But what happened is I lost this screw. Pissed me off. So I was able to, I tried this one and this happens to go in, but it's too short. It belongs on the horn over here. But at least I know what the thread size is. So I went over to my local Home Depot store and I got these number 8 screw, 32 threads by 32 threads per inch times a ½ inch long. Okay, so I just got lucky. But after I put the steering wheel in and drive it for a little bit, I guarantee I'll find that screw. Wow, look at that. Works pretty good. So I put grease here. I put grease on the inside here of this little, put grease in here so it goes on the spring. I put grease on the other side of the spring on the washer. Okay. And remember, this little copper plate here, or ring, rides on this little copper thing, and that's the horn. That completes the horn assembly electrical. Okay, so the next thing is to put on this plate, and you'll notice over here that this is a little wider. The same thing with over here. This one has, they're all equal space, except for the top one here is like a double space, and here is a double space, and that way you can't put it on wrong. Whoop. Oh, yeah, see, almost did. This guy in here first. There. Okay, so now what we have to do is squeeze down and put this snap ring in position. So we'll get it going. Of course, like I mentioned before, there is a tool that holds this down, so it allows you to get access to this, or not get access to, work this snap ring into position. We'll just work that round and round. And there. See? So, you can do it. Okay, the next thing we have to do is set the ignition switch itself. Alright, so it sits here on top of the steering column. And see this little rod? This rod is the one that is controlled. Well, this is the key lock. So as this moves, that rod here down the steering column moves back and forth. Where is this? So you can see that moving. That rod sits on the top here. There's a little groove it goes in. Okay, so this switch will be sitting like this on the top of the steering column. And that rod on top of the column will go into this hole right here. So we'll be sitting just like this. Okay, let's see, like this, and then that rod goes through there. So you got to remember, it's the second slot, because the first slot you pull up, that is accessories. The second slot down is off, lock, and that's where we want it. Then the next one down is run. Then the following one is start, because it's got that spring loaded, so it comes back. Okay, so you have to make sure you set it for lock or off, so that when there's put this on there, that rod goes right through this hole. Just like that. Okay, so now it's sitting there in a position. So then, okay, there's two screws that go onto the steering column and bolt and screw right in. Just like that. Okay, there's the one. And then I have to do the one in the back. So, since I need two hands, here's the second one, goes here. Since I need two hands, I'm going to shut this off, and I'm going to turn it back after I get it on here. Okay, so you'll see right here, here's the back one, the back screw, And here is the front one right here. Of course, I already tightened these up, but I'm just doing it so I show you where it is. Now the next thing is that it's got two cables. It's got two connecting cables, and those are easy because you don't go in one place. The white one goes to the front. You see, just snaps in. Then the black one comes in the back. Same thing, just snaps right into position. There you go, that takes care of that. Now, we have to undo our guideline wire here, or string, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that connects together right over here. Of course, it only goes one way. And then that clips right onto the steering column itself. The front and rear clip. Okay, so that takes care of that. In case you didn't see it from that side. Here's one part of the connector, the wires that come from the steering column, and then here is the other part that goes to the big wiring harness. Alright, now that we have the switch all hooked up and all the wires, now we're just going to lift it up. Okay, the next thing is to lift up the shaft, the column, and then two nuts, one on either side, and there's four right here. So in this particular car, I have my tachometer onto the steering column, put to the steering column, and I just have a gigantic clamp that goes all the way around and right here. So I just put it on here and tighten this up so it sits out of the way. I can still watch the speedometer, everything else, but I know where the tack is. Alright, the final thing, or almost the final thing, is I'm going to put this plastic tray, or plastic cover, here right in position. So I'm going to put this in here, and then I'll come back. So the cover, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now normally that's all you need, but this particular car has factory air, so one of the vents fits right underneath the dash. So let me just screw this up into position. Okay, so here we are. The last stage is what we're all waiting for. Is the steering wheel. Okay, so remember, this car happens to have a notch and a notch, but I don't care. I just put it there anyway. The nail polish, because sometimes they don't. See, that is just a 7/8. Okay, that's not going anywhere. Then the last thing is the horn assembly. So it'll go right up here. So we take these screws out of these holders. Remember, this is the horn. You got to remember to put it in there. Just goes right in that hole. And here's our top. Okay, so I have to do it on the other side. Okay, so that takes care of the horn assembly. Now, I have to hook the battery back up. So I have to connect the battery. Now, I would recommend taking the battery post off, or the cable off, before you start doing this job, just because there's so much electrical underneath the dash, and you know, if you short something out, I don't know how you're going to figure it out. But I mean, I'm just going to tighten this up, and then away we go. Okay, so the last check. There's the key. So what happens is, you're in lock. There's on, and there's run. So it looks like the whole thing works. Let's see if it starts. Oh. Okay, so we started with tightening up the directional switch. Instead of wiggling, now it's perfectly, it works great. See, 1, 2. Alright, we took the cylinder lock out here. We took all the steering apart, everything else.